keep going.
Party leader Chuck Schumer says he's moving, quote, full speed ahead with this package. Will he have your vote?
And that's fine. He can. He will not have my vote on 3.5, and Chuck knows that. And we've talked.
That's really interesting that he doesn't have your vote on the 3.5. Wait, hold on. Joe Manchin. Why is he saying that right now? Wait, Joe Manchin in January. Senator Joe Manchin calls up to $4 trillion in infrastructure spending as Democrats are poised to control Congress. What? Wait a minute. What? That's so crazy. What happened? What happened, dude? Oh, what happened is, you know, it's gonna happen. So of course Joe Manchin has to go and fucking talk on the Sunday talk shows and show his like fucking billionaire and corporate backers that he is the guy who's gonna, you know, fuck this deal up to like you know, reduce the corporate tax rate or whatever the fuck. And that's why he has to maintain his figure. That's why I always say, like, this threat that Manchin is going to go into the Republican Party is a laughable one. You want to know why? You want to know why? Because no one will have Joe Manchin on if he is like every other Republican senator, just obstructing for the sake of obstruction, okay? Manchin needs to be a Democrat so he gets that media coverage. If he's not a Democrat, if he's a Republican, yeah, good luck, dude. The fuck's he gonna do? No one's gonna give a fuck about Joe Manchin or his personal branding project if he's out here as just yet another fucking Republican. He can't play the spoiler.
Talked about this. We've already put out $5.4 trillion, and we've tried to help Americans in every way we possibly can. And a lot of the help that we put out there is still there, and it's going to run clear until next year, 2022. What's the urgency? What's the urgency that we have? It's not the same urgency that we have with the American Rescue Plan.
Bullshit. Bullshit. Joe Manchin wrote this article on Wall Street Journal so that he could get these fucking, so he could get these like sweet little fucking talk show spots. While a fucking hurricane was ripping through the East Coast, okay? Literally destroying the East Coast, like flooding in areas that have never seen flooding before. While this motherfucker was like, I'm going to type out this fucking article on the Wall Street Journal to make sure that everybody pays attention to me. Me. Joe Manchin is no different than those fucking TikTok teenagers that we were watching yesterday that fucking talk about how like these fantasy scenarios where they're somehow the fucking hero. You know what I mean? He's got main character syndrome in the exact same fucking way that a 17-year-old teeny bopper does on their dumbass TikToks, okay? The only difference is he's making a lot of money off of this, okay? And this is his own personal branding project that the mainstream media, for some fucking weird reason, routinely offers him the opportunity to do so.
We got that out the door quickly. That was about $2 billion, $2 trillion. And on top of that, you know, all the things we put out with the CARES package, everything leading up to that. So we have done an awful lot, and there's still an awful lot of people that need help, but you have 11 million jobs that aren't filled right now. 8 million people are still unemployed. Something's not matching up. Don't you think we ought to hit the pause and find out the vulnerability that we have, Dana, right now? We don't know what happened with this COVID. It's awful coming back the way it is with the vengeance. We don't know about inflation. We know it's running rampant right now. I can tell you.
Dude, my man talks about urgency. There's no urgency. At a time when there's definitely urgency, okay? Here's the real urgency, you dumb motherfucker that you already know that you're like hiding the truth about. The midterm elections. Joe Manchin knows that he will lose his fucking relevance if the Democrats lose control of the Senate or lose control of the House and the Senate. Doesn't matter. He loses everything when that happens. So no one will give a fuck about him. Which is why I believe that he will end up voting yes for this. Cinema is a little bit harder to move, in my opinion, than Manchin. Okay? So, or worse, get a bigger majority, which is not going to probably happen. But still, you know, that could also ruin Manchin's position as well. But here's the reality, okay? We need every single fucking vote in the Senate to pass this $3.5 trillion budget, budget reconciliation backed infrastructure bill. Okay? Joe Manchin is just simply fucking being like, oh man, I don't know. What about the inflation? What about inflation? It's like, fuck you, dude. And this interview is actually great because Dana Bash, for some weird reason, actually pushes back on him. And he has no answers.
In West Virginia,
I gotta pee. I'll be
inflation's
back in a second.
running rampant. And on top of that, the challenges we're going to have, geopolitical challenges. Shouldn't we be prepared?
So I want to ask you about a lot of that, but are you saying it's the price tag, it's the timeline, both?
It's the urgency. Do we have the urgency to do what they're wanting to do in such a quick period of time?
But can you be specific? Okay, let's talk about the dollar sign.
Yeah.
Do you have a specific number in mind?
Here's a number you should be getting to. First of all, I have agreed to get on to the reconciliation because that's the time for us to make financial adjustments and changes. I thought the 2017 tax code and tax law, the way it was changed, was very, very, very unfair, and it was weighted to the wealthy.
So what's the number?
And the bottom line is, what the number would be, what's going to be competitive in our tax code. I believe that the corporate rate should be at 25, not 21.
But what's the overall number for the budget bill?
I think that you're going to have to look at it and find out what you're able to do through a reasonable, responsible way.
So then
And if
how do
that's
you know
gonna
that
be
it's
at
not
1.5, if it's going to be at 1.5, we don't know where it's going to be.
So you think
It's
ballpark
not
1.5?
It's not going to be at 3.5, I can assure you. But with that, whatever it is, once you have a competitive tax code that you can compete globally, and then you should look at what the need is. What's the urgency and the need that we have?
And I want to get to that, but just because this is
I
the thing that people consume. Do you have a ceiling?
Dude, she's just so straight up. This is what people want to hear from you, you dumb old fuck. Just tell me the fucking number. And what is disgusting about this? Yeah, we'll talk about the daughter EpiPen story in a second. But what's remarkably dumb about this, and that's why I'm saying, like, it doesn't take much to be Joe Manchin. Like, he's not a particularly clever individual. But he has no answer, dude. He's got no fucking answer. Like, how are you going to write a whole ass article and not even have a fucking answer for it? That's nuts. That's nuts. So you don't have a problem with $3.5 trillion then? So you don't have a problem with it?
Ceiling?
My ceiling is this, the need of the American people, and for us to basically take in consideration
my ceiling, I don't know.
Inflation. No one's concerned about the debt. You know, our debt as of Friday was $28.7 trillion. And we're not even talking about that. No one's talking about that.
You just said 1.5. It sounds like 1.5
I'm just saying that basically, well, I've looked at the numbers. If we have a competitive tax code.
So what happens when the bill is self-paying then? Like, what then? What then, Joe? What happens when it doesn't touch inflation? What then? He's got pay-fors, but also the pay-fors are too high, I think. Nobody's talking about the inflation. Nobody's talking about our debt. Yeah, you want to know why nobody's talking about our debt? Because no one gives a fuck. No one cares. That's never been a fucking real consideration. It's only fucking idiots like you who want to just spoil the fucking process for personal gain. That's the only time motherfuckers bring up inflation, or the only time motherfuckers bring up debt. Okay? Sorry. You don't care about debt either. You're just like using that as an opportunity because Exxon or whoever the fuck, all of your corporate backers want you to fucking blow this up. But even then, he's probably not going to blow it up either. He's just like, this is clout. He is like the ivermectin boys. You know what I mean? They're not personally getting money from ivermectin by selling ivermectin, but they're actually personally developing their clout amongst those who are looking for alternative medications. Okay? And that's precisely what Joe Manchin is doing here. He's not like personally benefiting from blowing up this bill outside of like developing his bona fides amongst those billionaires, millionaires, corporations that want him to play this role in every fucking opportunity he can. Okay? The rec bill has a stronger claim to debt neutral than the bipartisan bullshit, and nobody in the media says shit about this. Yeah, because the bipartisan bill does not have fucking... The bipartisan bill has like some pay-fors, but the actual reconciliation bill has a tax hike. Because you couldn't put a fucking tax hike in the bipartisan bill because no fucking Republican was going to vote for tax hikes. On corporations and the wealthy, by the way. Remember that.
Code. From a non-competitive, it doesn't help the working person. It was done in 2017. That's in the 1.5 range, okay? If that's where it is, shouldn't you be looking at what does it take now to meet the urgent needs that we haven't already met?
Okay, so let's talk about how this would be paid for. the White House Chief of Staff, Ron Klain, told me on this show last week that you are, quote, very persuadable on this budget bill because he says it will be paid for. It won't add to the debt. It won't.
That's the funniest part. Like, they already knew this was going to happen. So they're kind of giving the game away. They're like fucking this up for Manchin a little bit. Like, if you want to really like, help Manchin here, what you're supposed to do is like cry. Like, what the Democrats are supposed to do is cry. Be like, oh no, Joe Manchin, like, what? That's crazy. Like, why are you doing this? Oh, well. And then like do a symbolic meeting with Joe Manchin. And then ultimately be like, well, here are the pay-fors for the bill. And we only got there because Joe Manchin bravely advocated for it. Like, just give him the fucking claps. You know what I mean? But instead, they're just calling him out. They're like, nope, here are the pay-fors. Joe Manchin was very agreeable on this. So now he's faced with a fucking situation where he has to like assume another stance where like, I don't know. This is not actually, no, I'm not consolable. I'm not agreeable.
Won't add to inflation.
Well, if you're paying for it with inflated numbers from the standpoint is the tax code, the numbers that they're wanting to pay for it and the tax changes they want to make. Is that competitive? Does it keep us competitive or not?
It does. It literally does. Okay, shut the fuck up, you dumb bitch. It's insane. And now, as a Democrat, Joe Manchin is advocating against higher tax for the wealthy and corporations by bringing up competition. What's going to happen, dude? Are the wealthy going to leave the country? Is that what's going to happen, brother? You think people making more than $400,000 are just going to be like, well, I guess, this is not competitive. I guess it's time for me to live in fucking Belize, okay? Shut the fuck up. That's not happening. That's never happened. It's not going to happen. Shut the fuck up.
I believe there's some changes made that does not keep us competitive.
Meaning, don't.
Hassan, they literally have been. No, they haven't. You want to know why they haven't? Because they're already hiding their fucking assets overseas already legally, or at least like in questionable methods. Shut the fuck up. Just like rich people are not leaving the state of California. And I repeat this over and over again. Rich people are not leaving the state of California. You know who's leaving the state of California? Except for like a couple rich people like fucking Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, and like Ben Shapiro. You know who's leaving the state of California? Poor people and middle class people. Why are they leaving? Not because of high taxes, but because there's no fucking affordability in the state for them. Okay?
Don't increase taxes on corporations.
No, I want to increase taxes on corporations. I've spoken to corporations.
So what specifically are you saying?
I want the wealthy to pay their fair share. But if you're up higher to the point,
we can't make it too fair. You know, I want the wealthy to pay their fair share, but you know, how much do the wealthy actually have to pay? I mean, there is such a thing as too much fairness, okay? Yeah, that's right. I spoke to all the wealthy people. They call me up every weekend. They say, hey, Joe, we love what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing, yee, Joe. Thank you, ZachDar13, for the gifted subs, my friend. 10 gifted subs.
Point to where you are that can be competitive globally, then it's going to be counterproductive. Everyone's looking at this in a whole complete different way than I think maybe I am or other people are just keeping quiet. The bottom line is, do we have the urgency to spend another $3.5 trillion?
Elon Musk got $150 billion richer, or almost $151 billion richer. Jeff Bezos got $75 billion richer during the pandemic. Mark Zuckerberg got $74 billion richer during the pandemic. Meanwhile, over 38 million Americans faced hunger in 2020. I can't believe it doesn't say Twitch streamer Hasanabi Piker purchased the house. Kind of weird. Public citizen. How about you fucking publicly report on all of the fucking criminal scumbags, dude? Including leftist Twitch streamer Hasanabi Piker. Fucked up. This just in. The left, led by a very dominant Labour Party, wins the elections in Norway. It will be back in power after ousting the Conservative government. Per first result estimates. That's right. Norway is once again liberated by the leftist party. The Labour Party. Congratulations to the country of Norway.
Right now, the most urgent thing that we have to do is get the bipartisan infrastructure bill that's gone left unattended.
Communist community organizer buys $3 billion house while 5-year Andes eat ramen noodles. What? $3 billion house? Oh, Jesus Christ.
For over 30 years, deferred maintenance throughout every part of our nation. That's the one. The president went out and campaigned on that. That's his bill. We worked it in a bipartisan way, got 19 Republicans to vote for it. That's the bill that should go out immediately.
Okay, and that's, you have another side of this negotiation and some of your fellow Democrats, which I want to get to in a second, but let's just stay on what they call here in Washington the pay-fors, how your fellow Democrats.
Joe Manchin thinks Hasanabi needs a $1.5 trillion house, not $4 trillion. Yeah, I mean, like I said, ultimately, just, you know, go back to this always, okay? Go back to this always, dude. This fucking dipshit literally was an advocate for $4 trillion. The Democrats, the worst thing the Democrats did was, like, they lowered the number to $3.5 trillion out the gate before going in with their original $6 trillion package. Because the original $6 trillion package addressed all of the needs, right? And then they came out of the gates with a 3.5 number, so now they're going to fucking talk to Joe Manchin about 3.5. It is what it is. It just always has to be fucking... It always has to start way high.
Democrats want to pay for this. They're looking at increasing the corporate tax rate, closing existing loopholes, raising taxes on wealthy Americans, trying to get money back from, get the IRS to get money back.
I agree with all of that. I agree with all of that.
And they say they can add that up to 3.5 and there will be not a dollar. This is what they're saying.
I understand, but we just
added to the debt.
just disagree.
You just don't believe them?
No, I don't believe them. I'm just saying that those rates are not going to be competitive to find out the money.
Yeah, he has a problem with the tax rate. Like, the pussy right here, this pussy right here is refusing to say, like, I don't want to fucking put taxes on the wealthy. And Dana Bash, for some weird fucking reason, can't turn around and be like, what is the competitive rate? Just ask what the competitive rate is. And then ask why he thinks going back to the pre-Trump administration tax rates is, for some weird reason, not competitive when we had permanent growth with those tax rates. Please explain. Go ahead. Please explain, sir. Please. Weird dude is a banger emote. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Here's the difference. They're looking for 3.5 trillion. I'm looking for a competitive tax rate. Okay? I want to make the adjustments and changes. They're looking for basically...
What does competitive tax rate mean? Can you...
What I don't understand is, like, how can you be a debt guy and then literally advocate for lower taxes? Like, it's so fucking weird to be like, I care about inflation, I care about debt. Okay, motherfucker. Both of those things that you mentioned have to do with taxing. So what's up with increasing taxes? Literally, like, you can't fucking be like, I care about the debt and I care about inflation, and then turn around and be like, I also don't think we should be raising taxes on the wealthy. Like, you can't do that. It's the opposite. It demands the other thing that you're trying to fucking yeet.
You have to be globally competitive. Then you have to be globally competitive.
Right,
you can't be.
But can you explain?
First of all, you can't be at 39% as far as capital gains. I said 28 all in. Okay, you can't be at 28 or 30 or more with corporate net. I've said 25 all in, and I think that every corporation should pay a minimum of 15%. They should all pay something. I believe in that. But the bottom line is the need that we.
Oh, dude. Oh shit, dude. That's crazy. That's crazy, man. I can't. You can't do 28. I'm 25 all in. Yo, how about 0, dude? Fuck it. I seriously, 0% corporate tax rate, dude. That's the most competitive. How about 0? Fuck it, dude. Yeah. So now we arrive at the real problem for Joe Manchin is that he needs to be looking. He needs to be looking at, you know, his own interests. All right. His own interests are those of the corporate entities that call him up every weekend and tell him, "You're doing a good job, Joe. You're doing a good goddamn job, Joe. We here at ExxonMobil, we love you." That's right. Yeah. Keep those corporate tax rates competitive, brother. You're doing a great goddamn job.
You understand they put no restrictions whatsoever or qualifications on any of this
Yep.
as means testing of the need of the people, the means testing. How many people have you had talk to you that said, they're sending me checks, I don't know why? We've all heard that.
Okay, I want to get to some of the specifics in this in a second, but you just said that you want to get the infrastructure bill that you helped to negotiate, a bipartisan infrastructure bill. It passed the Senate. You want to get it
And the
through
White House was very much
and the White
involved
House
from
is,
every day.
But
Every
as
day.
you well know, dozens of House progressives.
Wrong. We should pay corporations a portion of our tax rate, specifically Exxon and those that pay Manchin out. Brother, I have a really interesting thing to tell you, but we do that already. Like, literally, we do exactly that. As a matter of fact, part of the reason why we have taxes to begin with is so that we can do that. Yeah, so we already do that. Don't worry. That's where our taxes are going. So, yeah, it's called government subsidies, you know. Like, for example, when it comes to energy, 75% of those go directly to fossil fuel, directly to the fossil fuel industry.
Are saying no, they're not going to vote for your infrastructure deal until you support what we're talking about.
Yeah, you don't even need ExxonMobil. His son runs the coal company he started and still makes money from. Chair of the Energy Committee. Yeah, I love that. I love being the chair of the Energy Committee so my son can fucking run my coal company that I'm supposedly divested from.
Here, the overall budget bill, which has a lot of the president's agenda, a lot of Democrats' agenda in it. By digging in your heels on this, aren't you dooming your own infrastructure bill?
Who's digging in the heels here from the first of all? The infrastructure.
You are, motherfucker. That's the only reason why I can go on State of the Union. Otherwise, no one gives a fuck about you because you're irrelevant douchebag. Shut the fuck up.
Infrastructure bill has been passed, okay? You have a bipartisan bill with 19 Republicans. Who thought that could happen? Who thought that? And, you know, we worked hard on that for many, many months.
Here you have the mainstream media getting cucked by their own, getting hoisted by their own petard, okay? Guess what? If you personally fucking constantly talk about bipartisanship as this virtuous thing, exclusively for the virtue of bipartisanship alone and nothing else. Like, if you consider for many years bipartisanship to be a standalone virtue, then they will use that against you. When push comes to shove, they will turn around and they will fucking use that against you and be like, well, look, it's bipartisan. We got a bipartisan bill. Isn't that great? It's like, why? Who cares? Many people thought it never would have happened. Well, so what? Who cares? The only reason why bipartisanship should be celebrated is if it's passing a fucking bill that's good for the American people. Okay? That's it. And the moment that it's not passing, the moment that you're using bipartisanship as a fucking talking point against like further continuing or, you know, further passing bills that the American public demands and needs, not even demands, needs at this point, then it doesn't matter. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't care if like an authoritarian bill passed either. I've said this before and I will repeat it. Like, I personally don't care if like in an authoritarian way we like do vaccine mandates. If in an authoritarian way we implement Medicare for all. I don't care. This is not something I've ever cared, and it's not something I will ever care. There have been plenty of fucking bipartisan bills that have been devastating for America. Okay, the Patriot Act, the congressional approval and authorization for use of military forces. Like, there have been a fuckload of things. The expansion, the constant expansion of the fucking surveillance state, constantly inflated budgets for our military industrial complex, the Iraq War, Afghanistan. These are all bipartisan bills. Okay, none of which that has been good. Okay, so if we were to truly help people, if we were to truly and genuinely help people, I don't care if it's fucking passing in an authoritarian manner. Okay, you're gonna shut the fuck up and you're gonna enjoy it later down the line, regardless. And you're gonna act like all of those benefits were benefits that you were always on board with. Social Security being like a great example of this. Okay.
And the president's team was very much involved. And the president went out and sold this around the country. Why would you basically let the perfect be the enemy of the good? You have a bill right now. I'm not saying we're not going to get to a reconciliation bill.
Dog, you're the one who's doing that. Okay? You are letting perfect be the enemy of the good. Okay? There's a good bill. There's two good bills. There's two good bills, brother. You want perfect. Perfect implying you don't want the other bill. I mean, even then, he doesn't have a problem with that, man. He literally does not have a problem with the other bill. It's just fucking bullshit, dude. Fuck.
Whenever.
But they have leverage.
Urgency now.
I guess they have
Well, if they can
leverage.
go home and tell.
Just like you have leverage. They're using their leverage, the House progressives, just like you are.
That's fine. And if they can go home and tell people that, hey, I don't care about the roads and bridges, you don't need it. I don't care about internet service, you don't need that. I don't care about fixing water and sewer lines. I don't care about the hard infrastructure that's deferred for the last 30 years. I don't care about any of that. I can't go home and say that in West Virginia. We need all of that. We have the worst bridges in the country.
Do you take this threat seriously by the progressives?
They'll have to do what they have to do. I mean, I'm not involved with the House and the House rules or any of that. Okay, they're going to do what they think is best. And if they play politics with the needs of America, I can tell you, America will recoil.
And they say you're playing politics.
I don't think so. But the bottom line is, if it's such good politics and they think 3.5 trillion, why are they rushing it now? Why don't they use that for political?
All right, let's talk about what's in
campaign trail and say, elect for me, and we'll spend 3.5.
Let's talk about some of the specifics, because I want to get to the substance of what we're talking about here, because I don't think that gets enough attention. What President Biden and the Democrats say is the child tax credit, which has been expanded, make it permanent. They're saying it's already having a major impact on poverty and hunger for children. Do you support making it permanent?
Well, I support child tax credits. I sure am trying to help the children.
But the expansion
Let's talk about this before you start saying, is it going to be permanent, this and that?
Yeah.
Let's see how we're doing. Let's make sure that we're getting it to the right people. Let's make sure the people on poverty. I can tell you, people that are working and working poor, making every effort they can to get ahead in life, that's in that 50,000 and below. I've got people that making combined 200 and 300 and more up to 400 saying they're getting checks. You know, if we have X amount
but
of dollars.
But it's on a sliding scale. They shouldn't be doing that.
Well, it's happening, though. This is happening because of the sliding scale. It's 75 and 150 with a sliding fee up to 400. Okay? These are things that there's hard caps to be put. The need-based, we're not having anything about need-based. We're not doing any type of that. And first of all, child tax credits. Think about this. If it's child tax credit, you want to help the children and the parents that are basically providing for those children. There's no work requirements whatsoever. There's no education requirements whatsoever for better skill sets. Don't you think if we're going to help the children, that the people should make some effort?
So let's talk about universal pre-K. West Virginia, your home state.
I've been all for that. I'm all in.
You want to make it a federal
Well,
program.
it's fine to be federal, but the states can do it too, and the states have a responsibility.
But should universal pre-K be in a bill like this that you would support?
I don't have a problem because I support universal pre-K.
Okay, what about increasing funding for home care services for the sick and elderly?
We have $60 billion hadn't gone out the door yet. $60 billion. Only thing I'm saying
Too much money. Too much money. We can't be giving the olds too much money.
is, why urgency to spend another $300 billion?
Bro, he's such a fucking piece of shit. Why? I don't know. Maybe because that's where the fucking demand, that's where the needs are, dog. Have you thought about why that's a necessity? These are also the hilarious part about this, and this is like what fucking triggers me to no end about like neoliberals who deny this. Everything that they've been able to like get a fucking little drip feed of money to is disgustingly popular. Okay? Like with every base, even including the base of voters, like the only base that matters, not the poor, not black people, not brown people, like old voters, okay? Old white voters. disgustingly popular. So this notion that like you're, advocating against that is psychotic, dude.
Towards that, when you got $60 billion that hasn't gone out, don't you think we ought to find out what happened? Why are we not able to get into that type of a chain to where we're able to make sure that the administration is able to disperse the money that get it to where it needs to be helped?
Clean energy provisions that are in this bill, they would use tax incentives and carbon capture technology to try to cut emissions in half and make the electric grid 80% clean energy by 2030. Do you support that?
Let me tell you this. Let's look at where we've come.
He's not going to answer that, dude. He's such a piece of shit. Let me tell you this. Have you perhaps considered that my son owns a coal company? Okay. Now, of course, I'm divested from it. I mean, it would be gosh darn unethical if I was advocating for the interest of big coal while I simultaneously, functionally own a coal company.
For the last 20 years. In 2000, year 2000, 52% of our electricity came from coal. Only about 16% came from natural gas, and only about 9.5% came from renewables. 20 years to date. Okay, 2020, 19% from coal, 40% from natural gas, and up to 20% for renewables. The transition is happening. Now they're wanting to pay companies to do what they're already doing. Makes no sense to me at all for us to take billions of dollars and pay utilities for what they're going to do as the market transitions. We've proven that, and we will continue to transition. They're accelerating something that could be very, very vulnerable to the reliability.
So it sounds like a no. You don't support the provisions
at all.
Okay.